The hidden power source. 2019 Wimbledon final. Djokovic versus Federer. 118 miles per hour serves screaming toward Djokovic's body. Everyone watching thinks it's over. But watch what happens in the half second before he swings. His legs sink, deep, like a spring compressing under massive weight. Then, explosion. Return winner down the line. Championship point saved. That sinking motion? That's one of 7 tennis tactics that'll make you look like a pro. And if you want shots that feel effortless but look devastating, you need to master every single one. Here's what's probably happening with your ground strokes right now. You see the ball coming, get into position, maybe bend your knees a little like your coach told you, then swing. Your shots feel heavy. You're muscling everything with your arm. After 3 games, you're exhausted. Meanwhile, Djokovic just saved championship point using a tactic you can learn in your next practice session. Nadal hits 75 miles per hour forehands with 3,200 revolutions per minute of topspin while looking completely relaxed. They're using specific tactics that make every shot feel easy while looking devastating. The first one is called loading. Loading is the moment right before you swing where you drop your weight into your legs and create potential energy. Think about jumping. You don't just leap from a standing position. You bend your knees first, sink down, load the muscles, then explode upward. Same principle applies to every tennis shot. Watch recreational players hit a ground stroke. Their legs stay relatively straight through the entire motion, maybe a slight knee bend, but nothing dramatic. They're standing tall, swinging with their arm. Now watch Djokovic hit that same shot. Right before he starts his forward swing, he sinks. His knees bend aggressively, his hips drop, his center of gravity lowers by several inches. Then he explodes through the ball with massive pace, but looks effortless doing it. That's because he's not generating power through muscular effort. He's using stored energy from his entire body as an energy transfer system. His legs do the work, not his arm. When you don't load properly, every shot is exhausting. You're trying to create pace through arm strength alone. When you load properly, your shots feel easy. You're transferring energy from the ground up through your legs, core, shoulders, and finally your arm. But loading means nothing if you don't have a stable platform to load from. And that brings us to the second tactic, the one that determines whether all that loaded energy actually goes where you want it to go. The stability foundation. Stance width. Rafael Nadal plants his feet wider than his shoulders, bends into his knees. And when he makes contact with the ball, he's not moving at all. He's so stable that if you paused the video and looked at his legs, you'd think he was posing for a photo, not hitting a 75-mile-per-hour forehand with 3,200 RPM of topspin. What about your ground strokes? Here's what's probably happening on them right now. You move to the ball with decent spacing. Your feet are wide as you're setting up, but then as you swing, your feet come together. By the time you make contact, your stance is narrow and your base is weak and you're moving. Watch any professional hit a ground stroke and you'll notice their stance width is aggressive, not just shoulder width. Wider, much wider than feels natural if you're not used to it. And most importantly, they maintain that width at contact. They don't let their feet drift together as they swing. This isn't just to keep them from falling over, but it's also important for force transfer. When you have a narrow stance, all the energy you generate from your legs and core dissipates. You're hitting with just your arm and the ball has no weight. When you have a wide, stable base, you can push through the ball. Your legs drive energy up through your core rotates through your shoulders, and your arm is just the final link in a chain that starts from the ground. Let's take a look at the 2008 Wimbledon final. 5th set at 7-7, Nadal versus Federer. The match lasted 4 hours and 48 minutes in what many consider the greatest tennis match ever played. Watch Nadal's forehands on crucial points throughout that match. His feet are outside shoulder width, his knees are bent, and when he makes contact, he's so stable that he could hold that position for 5 seconds without moving. Nadal ultimately won 9-7 in the 5th set. If you are loving this video, please click the hype button on your mobile screen and help us to reach out to more tennis fans. Done? Let's continue. The consistency principle, 2/3 power. Roger Federer stands at the baseline in a practice session and hits 50 forehands in a row. Every single one lands in the court with depth and pace. Here's the thing, he's not hitting as hard as he possibly can. He's hitting at around 2/3 of his maximum power, and the consistency is perfect. Here's what separates pros from recreational players when it comes to power. Recreational players see the ball and they think they need to crush it. They swing at near full power on every shot, and the result is lots of unforced errors. They hit 3 great shots and 5 that either go long, wide, or into the net. Meanwhile, professionals understand that consistency beats power. If you can hit 10 shots in a row at about 70% power with perfect depth and placement, you'll beat someone who hits 5 winners and 5 errors at 95% power. The math is simple. Consistency wins more points than occasional brilliance. So pros actually hit at medium-high power on most shots. This strategy does something crucial. It gives you margin for error. When you're not maxing out your swing speed, you have better control over your racket face angle, your contact point, and your spin. Everything is more repeatable. Alright, so you've got 3 fundamentals that most players ignore. Fix those 3 and you'll instantly hit better than 80% of recreational players. But if you stop here, you'll eventually plateau. You still need 4 more fundamentals that separate the good from the great. And the next one is about something so obvious that most players assume they're already doing it right. Spoiler, they're not. The directional principle, body weight follows the ball. Let's start with a simple question. When you want to send a ball in a certain direction, which way should your body move? The direction you want to send it, right? It's common sense. It's obvious. Everyone knows the answer. But so many players don't realize it's not what their bodies are actually doing, because they're chasing after the ball as it's coming toward them. They're moving laterally or backwards to meet the ball, and they don't take the time to land, load, and spring off their feet back in the opposite direction where they want to send it. So in the moment when they make contact with the ball, their arm is trying to send the ball forward toward their target, but their body is pulling their arm, the racket, and all their momentum sideways or even backward. Like this, you end up fighting yourself. What you need to do instead is use the fundamentals we've already covered, and 2 more we haven't discussed yet. More on those soon. First, maintain that wide, stable stance we talked about. That stability anchors you and stops the sideways drift. Second, load into your legs. That lets you absorb your lateral or backward momentum and redirect it. You sink into that outside leg, and then you explode forward in the direction you want the ball to go, with not just your arm but your whole body weight. You could watch any pro and see this body weight principle in action. But Roger Federer's 2017 Australian Open final performance is a perfect example. Throughout that 5th set, watch Federer hit his signature inside-out forehand to Nadal's backhand. As he sets up for the shot, his entire body commits to that direction. He's not just swinging his racket toward the corner, his hips rotate toward that target, his weight transfers toward that corner, his momentum is moving with the shot. By the time his racket makes contact, his whole body is already moving in the direction he wants the ball to go. That's why his inside-out forehand had so much weight on it, so much penetration throughout the match. This principle does 2 more important things for your game. When you commit your whole body, you're moving as one unit. Your legs, your core, your shoulders, your arm all working together. That's where the power comes from. But it also means you can keep your racket closer to your body instead of reaching and extending your arm out. When your whole body moves toward the target, your arm doesn't have to do the work alone, so you maintain better control over the racket while generating more power. Alright, so you understand the body weight principle? But remember we said there's 2 more crucial pieces to getting this right. Let's talk about the first one now. It's about how you land when you get to the ball. The landing principle, open stance first. Here's what happens with most recreational players. You get pulled wide to your forehand or backhand, and you're thinking about getting there, setting up perfectly, maybe stepping into the shot. So you take these little adjustment steps trying to get your feet just right, and by the time you're ready, the ball's already past you or you're hitting late. Pros don't do that. Watch Serena Williams when she gets pulled wide. She runs to the ball, lands on her outside leg, the one furthest from the net, and boom, she hits from right there. Open stance. If she has extra time, then she might take 1 more step to close it up a bit, but that open stance landing happens first, every single time. So why does this matter so much? First, when you land on that outside leg in an open stance, you're hitting the ball earlier. You're catching the ball while it's still out in front of you, still inside the court. That takes time away from your opponent. The second point connects right back to what we just talked about with body weight. Landing on that outside leg is what lets you redirect your momentum. You're running sideways to get to the ball, so if you land on your outside leg and load into it, now you can push off that leg back toward the middle. That's how you go from moving laterally to committing your weight forward into the shot. And you can see this with any professional. They mostly land on that outside leg, load into it, and from that stable platform, they can generate massive power through rotation. All right, 5 fundamentals down. But don't stop here, we've still got 2 more to go. And if you ignore them, they're probably why you're still missing easy shots. If you are loving this video, subscribe to our channel and help us reach 5,000 subs by month's end. The margin principle, height over the net. So this next fundamental isn't anything fancy. It's basic, everyone knows it. But when you're working on your stance, your loading, and your body weight direction, it's really easy to forget about the simplest thing, which is height over the net. All that stability we've been building, part of the reason you need it is so you can control your ball trajectory and actually get the ball over the net consistently. Here's the fundamental. Pros play with margin over the net, especially when they're neutral or defensive. They're not skimming balls 2 inches over the net unless they're hitting an outright winner. When they're building a point or extending a rally, they're aiming at several feet over the net. Why? Because a low shot from the baseline gives you almost no room for error, but when you aim higher with topspin, the ball clears the net with margin and still dives down into the court with depth. You're not hitting short, you're hitting safe and deep. Watch Djokovic when he's pushed into the corner, high, heavy ball over the net, lands deep, and he gets time to recover. That's the margin principle. Go high when you're building, go low only when you're finishing. And you can combine this with court positioning too. When you're out wide or defensive, go high over the net and go deep, because if you go short from that position, your opponent steps in and finishes. But if you go high and deep, you're resetting the point and buying time to recover. And finally, we come to the last fundamental. The 6 we've discussed so far will probably do wonders for your technique, but if you're still struggling to up your game, the solution may well be in this last tip, the movement principle: fast back, stable forward. And that's to go backwards fast and forward stable. A lot of the previous fundamentals tie into this. To load your weight into your leg and shift your entire body weight in the other direction. To focus on sending the ball over the net with proper margin. To land wide on that outside leg in open stance, you need time. And to get more time, you need to move back fast and arrive early. Now you have time to set up properly. You have time to land on that outside leg in a wide stance. You have time to load into your legs and create that spring of energy. You have time to focus on where you want to send the ball instead of just scrambling to hit it. If you look at the pros, that is what they do. They don't jog back, they spring back behind the baseline, stop completely, load into their legs, and drive the ball back with their full body weight going forward. That's why even when they're tired and defensive, their shots still have weight on them. They give themselves time to execute every fundamental properly. So now you know 7 fundamentals that pros never compromise on that you're probably ignoring. Novak Djokovic saved championship point at Wimbledon because he executed all 7 of these fundamentals under maximum pressure. Rafael Nadal doesn't skip any of them. Roger Federer built a 20 Grand Slam career on these principles. And they're not complicated. You can learn them too. And when you do, you'll instantly feel more like a pro.